happened. Jimmy was an incredible success. I don't know where he is. I got to find him. Gosh, I don't. Oh.
Oh, yeah, George. Oh, George.
Right
George.
here. Yeah.
We did it, brother.
Yes, we
hey,
did.
Thanks to Dan. You know what? In the ring with Dan and Denny. Hey, brother, man, hey, he's about the most cat. I just love him to death. I love you. Thanks for having me. Hey, you're the best. I'm telling you, brother. In the ring with Dan and Denny. Yeah.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Mwah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Dan and Benny in the Ring. I'm Dan Spasino, joined as always by the playa himself, Benny Scallop. Benny, how you doing, buddy?
You know, Dan, I was thinking about the number 176 today. So if that's your IQ, Mensa's knocking on your door, probably NASA as well, right? If that's your weight and you're 6 foot tall, you're pretty buff. If that's your paycheck, man, you're broke ass. And if that's your episode number like it is tonight for us, you've had a damn good run.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Benny, we always talk about loving the stories from the days and the territories and, of the past. And we've got some good stories coming at us tonight. Benny, why don't you tell everyone who this fine face joining us this evening is?
I would be glad to. So the great Gordon Soley would end every episode of Championship Wrestling from Florida with "So long from the Sunshine State." Well, tonight we're going to say hello from the Sunshine State. Our guest is a native Floridian who just happens to be a 3-time former National Wrestling Alliance World Junior Heavyweight Champion. I'm talking about the one and only downtown Denny Brown. Denny, welcome to Dan and Benny in the Ring.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here. I'm glad we got all these things fixed and worked out and figured out what the heck to do with this stuff. But I've been here in Florida, and I'm 1 block over from where I grew up as a kid in St. Petersburg, over here towards Treasure Island Beach and everything. So I bought a house 4 years ago here, and everybody says I am a native, but I truly was born in Honolulu.
Oh, that was one of our questions later. Okay.
I know that.
Wasn't sure about that. Wow.
No, there was. My dad was in the Marine Corps as a lifer, 25 years or whatever, drill instructor, all that stuff. And yeah, it was pretty rough growing up with a evil man like that. But
the wrestling data got it right for once. Wow.
Yeah, that's usually
But I am from St. Pete, and I've been here probably. I can verify it with pictures back as far as 1962, but probably been here since about 1960.
I think that's a native. That qualifies.
Yeah. Always come home. And I'm in my old neighborhood, too. So
nice. Very nice.
Very nice. Again, I want to thank you for your time, and this should be great because we always start every interview pretty much the same because the stories are always different. They're always interesting. When did the wrestling bug first bite you? Was it a family member, friend? Like, what got you interested as a fan in wrestling?
Well, I've told this story, and you probably have seen it or maybe even read it. But, I'm growing up here, and I can remember as far back as being when I was 7 years old. We had 3 houses. We had my grandmother, us, and my 2 brothers, and next door was my aunt and her 3 kids. And I was 7 years old, and that was back in the day when we only had 3 stations, 10, 13, and 8, Channel 8. Well, we'd go to church every Sunday, and after church on Sunday, we'd go home and watch Championship Wrestling from Florida, 1 o'clock on Channel 13, one of our local stations, back in the day when Eddie Graham was the Dusty Rhodes of the day. To me, nobody beats out Eddie Graham. Nobody. And, so I was always, we all would get together, my 3 cousins and me and my 2 brothers, and we'd all go into their house and we'd watch it. My oldest cousin was named Eddie, and he was a supersized kid, years old, 200 pounds, big, just a big guy. And when the commercial would come on, he would turn into Eddie Graham and beat the hell out of all of us. So that's my first part of, understanding what wrestling was. And we were all excited about wrestling back in those days because it was a heck of a show. It was really, we believed it. It was, it was really, I mean, you could believe it. You believed Eddie Graham. You believed Sam Steamboat. You believed those guys that were just, phenomenal athletes and put on a hell of a show. I mean, that's who it was a story back in those days where, we actually believed it. And so that was my first introduction into it itself. And then when that was a place that I lived over on the other side of St. Pete, then we moved over here when I was 12, and everybody around us, and we're still pretty much the same people, just introduced, I think, Steve Kern, Mike Graham, and some of the other guys, Kevin Sullivan, the other next generation that were, pretty believable. Sailor Art Thomas was always cool. I always loved when he came in there because he was that big old thing, guy. And we used to go from here, we'd load up the car and go across Howard Franklin when it was a 2-lane bridge, which was crazy as hell. And we'd go to the Fort Homer Hesley Armory. And we'd watch it live. And I'm telling you, the aura, I mean, the energy that was in that building at the Armory was just unbelievable. We were all, I was always ringside, or, all of us was get close as we could. And when somebody would make a comeback, everybody would grab each other's hand, and every punch was thrown. We'd all go, boom, boom. And we were, the sound effects and everything. And then after the matches were over, I'd head to the ring and imitate them.
Denny, quick question: was Boris Malenko a heel back?
Yeah.
Was he in Florida when you started watching?
Yeah, absolutely, he was the greatest heel ever.
I remember as a kid.
He was.
Yeah. No, I remember my first couple of magazines had pictures of him and Eddie Graham. And it looked like a crime scene.
Because he had no teeth, and he'd take him out and he'd whack him in the head.
Oh, and, what a bloody mess.
Yeah, they'd get some serious color back in those days.
That's not a direct follow-up, Danny, but what a day. In our chat there wanted me to ask you what was Ruby Diamond like?
Ruby Diamond?
Rudy Diamond.
Rudy?
Yeah,
Diamond.
Rudy Diamond. What was Rudy Diamond like?
I don't know anybody named Rudy Diamond.
Oh,
well.
That's an easy question.
That makes that easy. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. Who's Rudy Diamond? I know Paul Diamond.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know who Paul Diamond is.
Yeah, he was from St. Pete. And he was a bouncer at a bar back in the days over on Tyrone Boulevard, and they fired him because he was in the bathroom more posing than he was out bouncing.
Wow,
looking at himself. Yeah, he was a weird fellow. But that was back in the day. The other guy that was also a bouncer at that point in time was Richard Blood, and you know who Richard Blood is?
Ricky Steamboat. Yep.
Yeah, well, he grew up here too.
Right.
We all went to the same school.
Yeah, he's a little bit older, I think, right? A few years older than you are.
Yeah, well, my brother was a year and a half older than me, but 2 grades higher. And then Ricky was the next one.
Okay.
And him and my brother Carl, who's passed away, they were out at the football field at Bogosiega. We just had our high school reunion this past weekend. And Carl was a 6'2", skinny, scrawny guy, but he was meaner than shit. And he was playing out there on the field with Ricky and speared him, took him down. Nobody's ever done that.
Wow.
Yeah. That's me and my brother. We were just, growing up with my dad, being the a drill instructor. We had PT every day, every morning. I could climb the baseboard of a door frame and go all the way up it and across it and back down with just my hands and feet.
Wow, so that actually made wrestling training a lot easier for you than I would imagine.
Well, getting beat up didn't hurt every day. Everybody in the neighborhood beat me up.
Oh no.
You were the local enhancement talent?
I wasn't a big kid, and I'm still today, I'm not a big kid. I gained weight, obviously, and that changed the world. My brother, once he said, once you gained weight, he said, oh, I can't beat you up anymore. And he was right. But he used to do it every damn day, him and my other brother. But it changed when I started gaining weight and started training and started doing things, and
Right.
and finally got tired of people beating me up.
Yeah, it gets old.
Well, not that they hurt me. It's just because it made me mad, and I just didn't understand why people wanted to hurt other people like that.
Right.
I never did. But it made me to the point to where beating me up didn't hurt me. It just made me mad.
Yeah. So normally we ask us the second question is, what was that moment in time when you decided you were going to be a professional wrestler? Now, usually we get, I saw Don Morocco. I saw, in your case, a little bit different because I understand you really had no intention of being a professional wrestler. Is that correct?
Yeah, I didn't. I was actually, I got out of the Navy and I went to welding school for 2 years over here at the St. Pete Votech, Votech school. And I was more, worried about going to work, finding a job and becoming a welder.
Right.
So I spent 2 years over there welding in school and all that stuff. And there really wasn't any jobs here that were paying. And my uncle lived up in Knoxville, and he was always with the unions and everything. So, always getting paid good money and made good. But he was a wrestling fan, and he was a big guy. He had freaking forearms as big as my thighs. And he was just freaking, and they were because he was an old fisherman out of Panama City.
Right.
Pulling nets all the time and stuff. These guys had arms like you wouldn't believe. And he loved wrestling. And supposedly, the story I got from my aunt, my mom's sister, and him, is that he was at the Fort Hesley Home Armory, and the Von Brauners or whatever beat up whoever was in the ring, and they challenged everybody out there in the ring, and my uncle supposedly climbed in the ring and beat the shit out of both of them. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because he never told the truth anyway.
That sounds like a stretch.
But that was the kind of guy he was. He'd always tell stories, but he loved wrestling. And so when I went to Knoxville to to go to work, because he said, come on up here, the Boilermakers will take you, no problem, no worries or whatever. I'll get you a job. I said, working with the Boilermakers. Well, I got up there, and, I don't, from Tennessee, from Knoxville to here, the way I talk, I sound like a Yankee. So when I did all what they wanted me to do in order to become a welder, they go, well, you're not from around here, are you? I said, no, I'm not. I'm from Florida. Well, they thought I was from New York.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so when I went to go get a job, they said, we don't need you. We just pulled everybody out of off this other job, and we don't have anything for you. I went, ooh, that hurt. But my uncle got me a job in the office, and I started doing payroll. So I was, I learned how to do payroll. And which I was doing that for a while. But my uncle at the time knew a guy that was broke into wrestling, but he didn't like it. He was a millwright, worked in sheet metal and all that stuff. And he trained under Rick Connors, who trained me. And my uncle said, "Well, I know this guy." Yeah, so he knew a guy that knew a guy, and it gave me a phone number to call the Shoney's Big Boy Restaurant in Knoxville to leave a message with the manager to hook up with a guy that was a trainer who was Rick Connors. And they wanted me to go into wrestling, and I go, "What the hell am I going to do in wrestling? I'm 5'7", I'm 165 pounds. Nobody wants. Guys are monsters." But I did, and left a message, and lo and behold, I got a call from this guy.
So was that, I guess you would consider that kind of your in, and then that sort of led to your training?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, he sized me up. He wanted to know how tall I was, how much I weighed, and, you know, all this stuff and everything. And I didn't fit the bill, and he didn't really want me. And you know, but he says, if you're interested, you know, just we'll be over at the Bubble, which is the place where the wrestling team, college wrestling team in Knoxville, Tennessee, the college there. That's where they all train. And he says, "Come on over here, and we'll give you a shot." So I did. And he brought another guy along who was a friend of his. It was a judo guy, and he wasn't a big guy. He was about my size, but we went at it for a little while because we had to shoot. And, you know, we got to the point where we were like two billy goats, and we butted heads. I mean, literally butted heads, bounced off of each other. And I popped up to go back at him, and Rick goes, "That's enough." And he says, "You come over here." Well, he beat the crap out of me after that. But, you know, he said, if you're interested, come on back tomorrow. I showed up every day for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I said, if that's all you got, I've been beat up more than this my whole entire life.
Now, within those 2 years, though, did you have any matches?
A few here and there, you know. That's when he wouldn't take me to some of the shows or anything like that. So he said, if you wanted to go, you know, just go on your own. So that's when I started doing kind of a little bit of the Chattanooga, Nick Goulas thingy. And I did Georgia TV a few times. And everybody liked me. I worked with Bill Eadie one time, and hell, I've been on the mats. I wrestled on the mat for 2 years. I went to different high schools and different colleges, you know, working on the mats with everybody and the guy that was training me. I never stepped foot in the ring, ever. Never, didn't even know what a ring was. And so I remember working with Bill Eadie when he was the Mass Superstar. He was Georgia champion. And we got out there with, you know, I didn't know anything from anybody. And the only thing I knew how to do was wrestle. And we locked up, and he did a duck under, go behind, and waist lift takedown. And I sat out on him, spun away, turned around, and popped up. You know, squared off with him. And all he could do was grin.
Wow.
Nice.
And he come back after the match was over. He took over and beat me, you know. But after the match was over, he come back. He sought me out in the dressing room, and he come up and shook my hand and says, "Thank you, I beat somebody today."
That's a nice compliment, though.
Yeah.
I remember that forever.
Denny, I'm sorry. Did you? Before I'm going to forget this if I don't ask it now. Did you ever wrestle with Crazy Luke Graham?
I tagged up with him in Chattanooga one time. Yeah. It was Bobby Ward and Hector Guerrero. It was the first time I ever met Hector. I didn't know Hector from Adam.
Right.
And I was going to go, Rick Connors, the guy that trained me, was going down there. And I said, "Can I go with you?" He said, "No. But if you want to go, you can go on your own. Bring your gear." So I did. I went down there on my own. Some guy didn't show up. So Nick Goulas comes over to me and he goes, he says, "Okay, did you bring your stuff?" I said, "Yeah, I got it in my bag right over there." And he goes, "Oh, get your gear on." So I did. So it was Crazy Luke Graham and I against Bobby Ward and Hector Guerrero.
Wow.
And Nick Goulas was so impressed. He came over to me after the match in the dressing room, and he goes, I was one of his boys. This is my boy. But he never called me back. I mean, I got to go down and do TV once or twice with him over there out of Chattanooga. But it was Bobby Eaton and Honky Tonk Man back then. Wayne Ferris. They beat the shit out of me.
Did you ever work with George Goulas?
No.
Oh, I was going to ask you if he was as bad as everybody said he was.
Well, thank God I didn't have to find out.
So you stayed in that Tennessee for a while. Then how long were you in Georgia?
Well, I wasn't in Georgia. I was driving down from Knoxville.
Oh, okay. I got
I
you.
was doing TV and stuff. That's all, you know. I was just doing TV, and I didn't do anything until Flair and Mulligan bought the territory in Knoxville, and they all they would do is use me for TV every Saturday, and you know, and I worked my butt off. I trained. Me and Rick and I trained Tim Horner, and they gave Tim a job, and it would freaking using him every day. And finally, Mulligan, after a while, asked me what I want to do, and I said, "Heck, I'm here every damn day. What do you want me to do?" He finally hired me on and started traveling around with the territory over there in Knoxville, and I got to meet a lot of good people. Les Thornton. Les Thornton was the linchpin to get me in here in Florida. Because I told you, asked me about the question about JJ closing the door on me, which he did. And so I went back to welding. And then after, for a while, they were having a show at downtown St. Pete at the Bayfront Center. And that's when I went down to, because I knew some of the guys. Les Thornton was one of them who was there. Flair was there. Flair owned the territory, and I worked with him in Knoxville and a few other guys. So I went down there, and Les Thornton came out into the auditoriums part of the Bayfront Center, and I walked over to say hello, and that's where it all began.
Now, that was after JJ said that they couldn't use you?
Yeah.
Okay. But by then I think Dory Jr. was the booker then, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit different. So I guess the lesson is to always bring your gear, correct?
Well, I didn't work that night. I just went in there. See, what Les said, he asked me if I was working. I said, yeah, I got a job out here at the beach. I'm a welder. I was putting up high rises out there on the beach. And he goes, no, he says, are you working? I said, yeah, I got a job. And he goes, no, are you in the business? I said, no, nobody will talk to me. Oh. And so he goes, come on with me. So he walks me in back into the dressing room, and there's a table there, and he goes, sit over here on this table and don't move. Flair knows me, so he comes up and shakes my hand, hugs me, and all that. And people introduce themselves as the guys doing the business. We're always friendly. And then finally, Dory walks over and he's got his book in his hand, and he goes, he says, "What are you doing Wednesday? Can you do TV?" I said, hell, I've been waiting a long time for somebody to ask me that.
Well,
I said, hell yeah, I can do TV.
Sorry. So you're I mean, clearly you're getting your foot going, you're working. You eventually transition away from Tennessee and you make your way to the Carolinas with Jim Crockett Promotions. So at this point, you've worked for two of the premier territories in wrestling. Can you expand a little bit on the similarities and differences between working for Eddie Graham versus the Crockett's?
Hang on. All right. Somebody at my front door. Sorry. Two different. Yeah. Florida was a Yeah. Shut up.
Dog wants to do a run-in.
Right.
Well, somebody knocked at the door.
Dog going into business for himself.
Well, Florida was unique in itself because I mean, geez, it was Florida. We could go to a show and be home every night, except for if we went to, seldom we did stayovers, but we did once in a while. We had a lot of big shows, but Dusty, when Dory left, Dusty took over. Dusty fired me, then later on hired me back, and yeah, it's not that he fired me. It was back in the day when Dory was booking and Magnum TA and Brian Blair were tagging together. And, I was doing TV every week. And Eddie would come down and he'd talk to me before my match TV and this and that and everything else. And they'd always call me, before Wednesday, when we did TV, make sure I could come. And, the story because I was working. And I go, well, I did it for as long as I could, as long as they let me off of work. And they did until the point the guy drew the line in the sand and says, if you miss another Wednesday, you're gone. Well, Dory calls me to see if I can come down and do TV on Wednesday. And I said, no, I can't do TV on Wednesday. I can't afford to lose my job. So he goes, oh, okay, sorry to hear that. And 5 minutes later, Eddie calls me. And he wants to know, can you come down and do TV on Wednesday? I said, Eddie, I just talked to Dory. I told him I couldn't because I'll lose my job. And he goes, oh, crap. Dory calls me back again. I told him, I said, damn, Eddie just called me. I said, told him I can't. You guys are, if I don't have a way to live if I don't have a job. Eddie calls me back again. And he says, I'll pay you double what I pay everybody else. Oh, geez.
Oh, wow.
Which wasn't a lot, but, Eddie Graham saying I'll pay you double. What do you say to Eddie Graham?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I explained to him what would happen if I did. And it happened. I got fired. And I guess I was doing something that I had to show up at the Sportatorium over there in Tampa. Charlie Lay was the gatekeeper, old guy, old wrestler, He was one of these guys, if you'd ask him a question, he'd sit back, cross his arms. Yeah. Geez, Charlie, say something before I go to sleep. But that's who he was. He'd talk like that. Everything. And he'd tell a story, but he wouldn't let you in. I show up. I guess I was picking up a check or something like that. I don't know. I can't quite remember. So long ago. But I show up, and there's Charlie. Sitting behind that little case, whatever. It wasn't a window. It was just there in his chair. And I walk in and I said, hey, Charlie, how you doing? He popped up out of his chair. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. And he goes, oh, kid, wait, just wait. No. Charlie, what the hell? So he gets on the phone and he talks to me. He says, he's here. And I go, what the hell is he talking about? And 2 minutes later, Eddie Graham comes downstairs from his office up there. And then, and he goes, hey. That's the same time I was telling you, Magnum TA blew out his knee. He wasn't Magnum, it was Terry Allen. Blew out his knee, and Brian Blair, working semi-main events, with tag matches and all that stuff, didn't have a partner no more. And Eddie goes, I got a spot for you. I got something. Don't worry about it, kid. I'm working semi-main events after that with Brian Blair tagging up all over the territory.
Nice.
In Florida. Yeah. They liked me.
What year was that, Denny?
Oh, gee, come on, guys. Yeah, and
80, 83-ish, 82, 83?
early to mid 80s,
Okay,
83,
close
80,
enough.
something like that. Yeah.
But you were working the loop, right? They had that weekly loop. I know Tampa was Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that? Do you remember the loop?
Yeah. Well, Monday, I think it was West Palm, typically Tuesday, Tampa. Wednesday was always Miami. Thursday, typically Jacksonville. Friday and Saturday, typically open. You know, we do
Watch those.
sometimes Barge Arena. We do St. Pete, you know, the Bayfront, or you know, we could do Sarasota, you know, Robards, but you know, they varied at that point. And sometimes we'd run Wednesday, Thursday. We'd go to Miami and do some other town, Fort Lauderdale, maybe Homestead or something like that.
Pretty big crowds back then, though, correct?
When Dusty took over, we sold out everywhere we went.
Yeah.
You know, we'd go to the Bahamas too over the weekends, and Les Welch was always the pilot. Me, Mike Graham, oh, not Mike Graham, me, Mike Davis, Mike Rotunda, and Barry Windham were always on the plane that fly us down. I was in the loop. So that's pretty good. Yeah. And it was my brothers. I still see Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham and go fishing with them and stuff.
I think Mike doesn't he live in Brooksville, I think, or close by Crystal River, around there?
75 miles north of me.
Yeah.
We go fishing all the time. I had a boat. He'd come down here. We'd go out in my boat. He's got a couple of boats. And we go fishing out of Wiki Wachi up there. Me, him, and Barry go fishing out of up there and stuff. We still do. You know, Mike's going through you know, he's just not been able to get out and go fishing here of late. So I'm going Thursday. I'm taking I got kayaks in the garage. And I'm going to take the kayaks and go out Thursday and go.
Yeah, I'm going Friday out of Tarpon Springs.
Nice.
I got two 14-foot pro angler Kobe cats. Pedal drive.
Okay.
I got them in the garage.
Nice.
Yeah. I've never been out of Tarpon Springs to go fishing.
Yeah, we went.
I go out of Fort DeSoto here by Bunce's Pass, which is Fort DeSoto.
We caught a bunch. I think between the two of us last year, we caught about 40 grunt.
The hell you want to eat who wants to clean all them damn grunt?
Well, no, they clean them for us. And then my friend's sister lives in Fort Worth Beach, or Lake Worth Beach, I'm sorry. And we drove down there with the fish, and she cooked them for us. Pretty good. They said now that oh God, I can't think of the other kind of fish that they're. They said if I use live shrimp, we can catch something else. I can't think of the name of it now. Not grunt. There was something else.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff over there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We catch a lot. They catch porgies and all that stuff. A lot of snapper, different types of snapper and everything. So yeah, I go out. I got a lot of friends of mine that were captains that grew up here that I go fishing with and stuff like that.
Right.
They catch grunts, but you know, you get so many grunts because grunts are just well, they're good eating. You can eat them, but you want to catch the big ones because I don't want to sit around cleaning 100 damn fish.
Yeah.
Which is no fun. And they're hard to clean for me because they're bony. Okay. But it's got good white, flaky meat, which I enjoy.
Yeah, I like them. So, Denny, now at one point, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship was actually one of the more prestigious titles in professional wrestling. I remember, when I first started becoming a fan in 1968, and I started collecting the magazines. They always gave a lot of coverage to the. Yeah. Back then, it was Danny Hodge.
They'd be good title matches on TV, with those things back in in those days. But
I did a little research, and Vern Gagne, Fred Blassie, Dory Funk Sr., Angelo Savoli, Danny Hodge, and Hiro Matsuda. There's
a lot of guys that were World Junior Heavyweight Champion, but that wasn't the way it was set up with me. it was more for me to be a guy that would be used on TV to give credibility to the top guys. For some reason, I don't know. And then they tried to get me to get better at, I mean, as far as the working goes, it was never an issue. But my problem was I hate the freaking camera. Why couldn't they just given me somebody who could talk for me? And let me just chime in once in a while. Why make me?
Back in the day, that's why they had the managers for the heels. That weren't really that proficient or didn't want to speak. Did you have a manager?
Bobby Eaton couldn't talk 2 words.
But he had Cornette for a lot of his career.
Well, I always had a manager.
Right. But now, how did you find out that you were going over and becoming the World Junior Heavyweight Champion?
Well, in Orlando, and I, we were still here in Florida. I didn't know all these things were transpiring, transitioning, or whatever. And Dusty walked up behind me, bumps into me with that belly, and he goes, "We just had a World Junior Heavyweight title. What do you call them when you have a bunch of people?
Tournament."
And he said, "You won." I looked up at him and I go, "I did." And we were still here in Florida. And, so nothing ever transpired. And I forgot all about it, to be honest with you.
Was that tournament held in Rio de Janeiro as well?
It had to be, right, Dan?
That's where all the good tournaments are held.
No, I wasn't there.
Nobody is. But how far in advance did you know that you were going to be the champion?
Well, I didn't know, to be honest with you. At that point, he just made a statement, and there was no belt or anything such as that, as it was. Yeah, and then when we left Florida, which was a whole new story, a different story, which is complicated because I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't know until they did Starrcade '84.
Now, did you actually wrestle somebody for the title though, or? Well,
Mike Davis was, who I traveled with here in Florida for several years. Me, him, and Mike Rotundo. He was crowned as the champion at that point in time. So I was going to have a World Junior Heavyweight title match with Mike Davis in Greensboro. And Mike was, he'd always used to go watch my matches, and he'd shake his head after every match, and he goes, "Damn, why don't you go somewhere else? Find a place to go." He says, "Somebody's going to make you strong and do a lot with you." But I stayed with Dusty, and Dusty made me World Junior Heavyweight Champion.
And you won it 3 different times, right?
Well, it was vacated once, so if you want to add that, it's 4.
Okay, nice.
Okay. I saw the gesture when Benny was introducing you. I didn't realize that's what you were saying. 4-time champion. Of course, vacant, and everyone knows that vacant is the most decorated title holder in the history of professional wrestling.
Now, you mentioned
Steve Regal vacated it.
Okay. Wasn't Thornton also a junior heavyweight champion?
Yeah. They were talking about a tough guy. Jeez, crime and alien.
I mean, when you look at that list of junior heavyweight champions, I mean, that's a Hall of Fame wing right there. My contention is that the way wrestling is now that Vince McMahon is gone, and there's not that much of an emphasis on the bigger guys, that I think they should bring something like that back.
Did he die?
No, he means gone as in retired from the company.
Oh, then he's dead.
Probably he probably thinks he's dead.
Yeah, he can't do anything anymore, and from my understanding, he's in trouble. So I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well, before we get too much, we were talking about before we get on too much, I wanted to kind of pick, because you had started to mention some of the opponents you had. Benny R. frequent appearances on the 30 before that show ended its successful run. There was a segment of that show called Pros with the Playa. And we were going to kind of incorporate that into ours. Usually this would be where we do a shout out to a sponsor or a shout out to the chat. So I'm going to throw it to you. You said you've got a special poem tonight. So give a quick shout out to our friends in the chat, and then let's see what you got.
Well, we have a poem and a contest. So Jimmy Pharaoh, one of our members of the Monte family, got married to Karen McDaniel, widow of Wahoo, on Saturday.
I love Wahoo.
And so I published I put a poem online. I wanted to read it today, but I do want to have a contest to the folks in the chat room. Previous winners not eligible, and the question is, and the first correct answer, Dan, I'll let you be the judge. First correct answer will win an autographed frisbee by me with a copy of the poem in it, like Genius style, Lenny Poffo. Question is, Special Delivery Jones was simultaneously billed by Joe McHugh from two separate places. What were those two places? That's the question. And now I'm gonna read my poem here. Here we go. This is called Ode to Karen and the Pharaoh. This is to Karen and to Pharaoh too. Today you started a life anew. One is the loneliest number, says Three Dog Night, but now you are two, and it just seems right. So, my dear friends, I wish you nothing but luck. And to those who don't like it, I don't give a I just don't care.
What are you asking me?
So, Dan, do we have a winner?
We've got our buddy Phil, fine supporter, said he was billed from Antigua in the West Indies and Philadelphia.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct.
Who's
and
that?
It was every other week. No wonder he lost so much. He had to be tired. He had to be suffering from jet lag.
Right.
That's a hell of a flight.
That is a hell of a flight. But then get back to what we were talking about. You had mentioned earlier when Benny asked you about the tag match that it was the first time you'd met Hector Guerrero. YouTube, if you look up your name, YouTube has a lot of your matches posted. Hector Guerrero, you two seem to have a lot of great chemistry. You mentioned, obviously, you seem to imply he was one of your favorites. Was there anybody else you really enjoyed working with?
Well, I enjoyed working with everybody. I could work with everything and everybody. That was the thing. But, Gary Royal was one of the first guys I worked with when I went to Charlotte, Crockett's territory. And we had actually the Florida boys that were up in there in New Bern City or whatever, New Bern, North Carolina, out there on the water. And Dusty was there, everybody was there, all that stuff. And it was a sold out, it was at a high school, it was a heck of a place. And I went in to work with Gary Royal, never met him before. And it was the first match, and tore the house down. And that Dusty never even came out when I walked back in. He was just grinning because he knew that's the reason why I was always first match, because I could work with anybody and everybody, and I always popped the crowd. So thanks to that, because that's how I made my living. I could work with whoever, regardless.
Denny, I think I know the answer to this one already. I think you kind of answered it, but back in the day, in the days of Briscoe and Harley Race and Dory Funk, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion was a busy man. He'd go from territory to territory. Go to Kansas City, go to Amarillo.
I went to Flair a couple of times. Yeah, we did a double world title nights and stuff.
I was going to say, did you follow a similar schedule?
Sometimes, not as much. But sometimes.
Mostly.
I went in several different territories, along with Flair, and sometimes by myself.
But you also made some shots to Japan, Australia, correct?
Yes.
Where was your favorite place to wrestle?
Well, it depends on what her name was, to be honest with you.
That'd be something I would say.
Yeah, well, I just said it, but...
Well, you're the guest, so
What was my favorite place to wrestle? It didn't matter. In the ring was my favorite place. I mean, what difference does it make what town it is? Because when you put a show on every single night wherever you go and you work, so they're all the same after you go to so many different places. So the favorite place to wrestle was always the ring. Be in the middle of it. Be in the middle. Work every side. You had four corners, four sides to the stage. You worked it. You did it. I learned. I listened. And one of the guys that taught me a lot was Hector and Chavo, all the brothers.
Great wrestling family. Did you?
Yeah,
I mean, did you
absolutely.
have a promoter, maybe like a favorite promoter, maybe one you didn't particularly like?
Eddie Graham was the best.
Yeah,
You
heard that a lot.
can. Yeah, you can. And Jim Crockett, he kind of warmed up to me after a while, and finally told me at the Starcade, and all that, and I thanked him for being there and all that, and not that I got rich off of it or anything like that. Thanked him for it, and he said, "You worked hard." He said, "You deserved it." I said, "Shit, you should have paid me more." Of course, he didn't like it when I sold his truck one night out on Myrtle Beach.
Oh no.
Yeah. Dusty told me to go over and get his truck. He was across the street on a caddy corner to us. We all came out of a bar, me, Manny, I don't know, Dusty and a couple other guys, and looking for a way to get back to the hotel. And Jimmy Crockett was over there on a phone booth thing, or what do they call those things? A phone. But the phone booth wasn't a phone booth, but it was a thing sitting on the side of the street. And I guess he was calling somebody that tried to get set up to do whatever.
Oh,
And
like a
Dusty,
payphone?
yeah, payphone. That's what it is. So Dusty goes, go get his truck. So I walk across the corner and he's on the payphone talking, and he's looking at me, eyeballing me like, "What are you doing? Why are you out here?" So I walk over and I climb in the damn truck, and he's looking at me like, he's got this befuddled stare on his face. I get in and crank it up, do a U-turn on the other side, pick everybody up, and take off. And Dusty says, if he tells you you're fired, tell him he can't fire you because I hired you.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so he got a little pissed, and the first thing he says, "You're fired." And I went, he hired me.
Well, I know we got started a little late, so I kind of feel bad wrapping up a little early.
That's okay. I'm ready to have a beer and get ready to go to bed here in another.
I hear you. So
You could have had the beer now. You don't have to wait.
Oh, thank God.
Kind of a two-part question. One, you got out of wrestling at a relatively young age. So what kind of kept you busy after wrestling? And here we are, 2024. We're still talking to you. We're still talking about you. You're very active with interviews and whatnot. What keeps Denny Brown busy today?
Fishing.
There you go.
Gym. I go to the gym. I go to the gym 5-6 days a week. I don't know. Maybe the shirt, maybe it makes it look like I don't. But I sent a couple of pictures to Benny. I've been working out pretty hard.
You're in good shape. Definitely in good shape.
Yeah, I like that. I like my fishing, and I quit fishing because we had the El Nino season come through, and it just had cold weather every other day, and the wind's been blowing. But the winds have died down, so we got, if you're going out fishing either tomorrow, which is Wednesday, Thursday, we got a new moon coming in and 4 tides up until Thursday, and then Friday we go to extreme tides. So I'm going to get out. That's why I'm taking my kayak out Thursday morning.
Nice.
I'll show them to you.
Oh yeah, let's see it.
And I do have my pictures and all that stuff in here,
Okay, very nice.
This is my garage. It's my kayaks.
There you go. For those
Yeah, see their pedal drive. See the pedal drive? That's the Hobie Pro Angler for, I fish. Yeah, this is,
Very nice.
yeah, I like fishing. My brother made this table, which has got 100 shark's teeth on it.
Oh shit.
Wow,
Okay.
nice.
Yeah, I got stuff sitting on it, but he built it himself.
Very nice.
I got tons of fishing rods.
Yeah,
As
for
you
those
can
of
see.
for
And
for
then-
for those on our audio side that aren't watching the video, this is definitely a fisherman's man cave, this garage.
Yeah, you can see that's the yellow kayak, and then on my trailer I got the gray kayak, but it's room for both of them, and yeah, my garage is as big as my whole house is. Yeah, it's a fisherman's man cave. That's for damn sure.
Very nice.
Fishing in the gym is a great lifestyle.
Absolutely. And
I just need to find somebody that likes to hang out with me. And I haven't found her yet, but hopefully.
well, our chat was very complimentary of your physique and energy, so it's good to see. Yeah, look at that. There it is. There's the guns.
Definitely. Wow.
Phil
Damn.
said, yeah, Denny still got the guns. Look at that. Benny, flex off. Let's see it.
Nah, it's I'm a lightweight.
Don't make me show my abs.
Uh-oh.
I think it's an ass. It's like, no, that's all right.
I'm down to 210. I was wrestling at 190, so
Wow,
if I get back to 190, and I told Benny, I said, I tell you what happened. I started this several weeks ago in training, and I met these people that been training with, and they started me doing the sauna. It started sucking all the poison out of me and all the fat, and I dropped to 210, and now I got abs.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So,
So you led the good A-ring life, and you're certainly enjoying life now. That's awesome and incredible.
Yeah, well, I cooked before you guys and all this stuff. So before I cooked the bison burgers, buffalo burgers.
Oh, I love bison.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I found a place at the same place. I also got elk, so I'm going to try that. And then I bought 2 big ribeyes, so I got about 8-10 meals sitting aside and I make my own stuff, and I do a lot of olive oil and lemon juice. I don't use the crap you buy in the stores anymore. So I've changed my whole diet and everything to where, it's just phenomenal. I don't eat a lot of garbage. The only thing is I like to drink beer. That's part of the business.
Nothing wrong. Your age and everything you've been through, I think you've earned that beer. So.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Denny, I thank you.
68 years old.
Look at that. If I'm in a tenth of good that shape when I'm 68, I'll count myself lucky.
I've had some surgeries though, but that's the reason why for the stuff hanging down. But everybody always says, "Well, when are you going to start aging?" Well, I can never really grow a beard because I'm also Native American, which I don't know if a lot of people. My dad was Indian, so I got a little on my chin, but it's gray. So, but I got I'm not wrinkled up or anything like that. My skin is still smooth and everything. Got no hair and everything, and so I thank God for giving me good genetics. And my dad was the same way. My grandfather was the same way. He's on the picture over there.
Definitely lucked out on that one. And Denny, again, I thank you so much for your time. This has been great. Like I said, anywhere YouTube, we talked about it. Denny Brown, you got a lot of good matches out there. For those on our YouTube watching us now, the live, Monte the Pharaoh, this has been great stuff for them. Obviously, Dan and Benny in the Ring, we can be found anywhere podcasts are listened to. So for Downtown Denny Brown, for the playa himself, Benny Scala, thank you, everybody. This has been great to chat. Everybody, quick shout out. I know obviously we talked about Phil. You're on there. Matt Hall just joined. Luce, my buddy, giving us a good shout out. Beth, everybody's having a good old time chatting up, and we wouldn't be here without them. So thank you so much. And just, Joe, Angela, everybody. So again, thank you all. This has been great. We've been having a lot of fun with this. We have a lot of good stuff planned. Quick announcement though, for next week, we will be going live on Monday instead of Tuesday. I actually will be unavailable Tuesday because I'm attending a wrestling themed rock opera called The Last Match that's currently on tour. Previous guests, Brandon Scott as part of the cast, Mickey James, and several high profile wrestlers. It's been a lot of fun. It's been sell out everywhere. They're in Vermont right now, going through New York. So check them out.
You tell Bob Cook I'm still looking for him.
Oh,
I would be very happy to give that message to Bob Cook.
You tell him.
Very
him.
happy. Yeah, he wasn't very nice.
You find somebody that books that match and puts me in there with that kid, I'll tell you.
We'll book the damn match. He was a bit harsh last week.
And
well, you tell him I'll take care of that for you if you need me to, because I tell you, Bob Cook, I'm looking, I'm training, and I'm coming for you, brother.
There you go. But Benny, what better way to end our goodbyes than a gauntlet being
I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
We've had guests in the past, butt heads. Have we ever had back-to-back guests throwing the gauntlet down for each other? Yeah. That's awesome.
No.
But
we will give that message to Bob Cook.
Absolutely.
I will personally give it to him.
And Denny, I know we still got a lot of stuff we'd love to talk to you about. We'll definitely have to have you back on. Downtown Denny Brown, the playa. Again, I'm Dan Spashon. Have a good night, everyone, and we will see you.